Hi friends, welcome back to our YouTube channel. In today's topic, we are going to discuss about test process. First question is define test process workflow. Test process starts with test strategy, test planning, test design, test execution, and test completion. In test strategy and test planning phase, we perform the activities like requirement analysis, review of business requirement specification, review of system requirement specification, defining test objective, defining the scope of project, identifying the test cases, identifying the tools, the techniques and practices to be followed, and to decide on the roles and responsibilities of all the stakeholders involved in the project. Whereas in test design phase, we create the test cases, test scripts, and test data. In test execution phase, we run the test cases which are prepared earlier, then we'll analyze the results. If any error found, then raise the defects and retest the fixed defects and close it in the system for defect cycle completion. In test completion phase, we will prepare the test summary report and defect summary report. The entire process will come under test management. Next question. What are all the steps involved in test strategy and planning phase? Test manager will prepare the test strategy and test plan document. Activities carried out at the test strategy level are: 1. Identify suitable engagement and delivery model. Next, define test objectives, scope of testing, testing phases and activities. Next, define test organization and role and responsibility of individual in the organization. Next, review business requirement and system requirements to identify test items. Then, define testing process and procedures. Next, establish configuration standards, defect management and change management procedures. Next, identify suitable testing tools, techniques and practices. Then, define testing dependencies, test completion and user acceptance criteria. Then, identify components that carry higher risk and may require enhanced level of testing. Then, evaluate feasibility for automating the application and define automation solution and identify suitable candidates for automation. Then, during test planning phase, the activities carried out in test strategy phase will be detailed and more application specific data will be gathered. The above details along with the schedule of the project will be documented in the test plan. Next question. Steps involved in test design phase. The test design is a critical activity in the testing process. The test objectives established in the test plan should be decomposed into individual test cases. Begin the process with high level test objectives. Then, high level test objectives decomposed into lower and lower objectives until functional and structural test objectives are defined individually. Then, create test cases for each and every test objectives that are identified earlier. Next, test data will be prepared in the test design phase. A set of objectives will be combined together to form test cycles. Next question. Process for test case development workflow. It starts with use cases and requirement from client. Then understand the requirements. Send query log for clarifications. Send estimates and plan for testing. Then define the approach and number of test cases. Identify high-level scenarios for each test case. Send the scenarios for review. Prepare traceability matrix. Then develop detailed test procedures for scenarios. Perform review on completed test cases. Update the review findings. And finally, deliver the test cases to client for sign off. Next question. Process for test execution workflow. It starts with signed off test cases from client. Then identify test data requirements. Prepare test data or receive test data from client. Then perform functional testing. Record the test results. Log the defects. Then retest the defects that are fixed by development team. Then perform regression testing. Record the test results and log defects. Retest the defects fixed by development team. Review the test results and deliver the test results to client and all other stakeholders. Next question. Explain the different levels of testing. 1. Verification testing. It is static testing of development products. Next, unit testing. These tests verify that the system functions properly. For example, pressing a function key to complete an action. Next, integration testing. The system runs tasks that involve more than one application or database to verify that it performs the tasks accurately. Then system testing. These tests simulate operation of the entire system and verify that it ran correctly. Then user acceptance testing. This is similar to real world test and usually done with the help of real users. Next question. Explain test cycle and test log. Test cycle means each execution of testing is referred as test cycle. Test execution may happen in multiple cycles. Whereas test log is a simple worksheet or spreadsheet that records test activities in order to maintain control over the test. It includes the test ID, test activities, start and stop times, pass or fail results, and comments. You can maintain a separate log or can document these details in a test case itself along with the actual results. Log the incidents into the defect tracking system once a review determines it is actually a defect. Next question. Checklist for test execution phase. Testing team should have stable test environment. System should have up-to-date software. Then availability of complete test cases and test data. Then problems reported from previous cycles must be resolved in the current phase of testing. Then test execution plan must be ready in place and circulated to all the stakeholders. Next question. Define test completion. Test completion activity involves recording of results on successful execution of test cases. Then preparation of test summary report on a periodic basis and at the end of testing. Then preparation of defect summary report on a periodic basis and at the end of testing. That is, the reports should include total number of defects found, total number of defects fixed, total number of defects not fixed, and total number of defects rejected, etc. Next question. When should you start the testing process? Testing should begin from the inception of the project. Once you get the requirements baseline, system testing plan and test case preparation should start. It also helps in exploring any gaps in the functional requirements. Next question. Define test reporting. Test reporting should happen throughout the testing phase based on metrics defined for the client organization. As the project progresses, a performance scorecard would be provided as part of the weekly and monthly report for monitoring the progress of testing. It can be in the form of graphical representation. Next question. When should you stop the testing process? The testing activity ends after the team completes the following milestones. 1. Test case execution. The successful completion of an entire test cycle after the final bug fix marks the end of testing phase. 2. Testing deadline. The end date of a validation phase also declares the closure of testing if no critical or high priority defects remains in the system. 3. The CC ratio. CC ratio means code coverage ratio. It is the amount of code covered via automated tests. If the team achieves the desired level of code coverage ratio, then they can choose to end the validation. Next question. Define test closure. Test closure is the document prepared and shared with all the stakeholders before testing team formally completes the testing process. This document provides details of total number of test cases, total number of test cases executed, total number of bugs found, total number of bugs fixed, total number of bugs not fixed, total number of bugs rejected, etc. Next question. List the tasks performed during the test closure activities. 1. Execution of all written test cases. The testing team should ensure that all the prepared test cases are executed in the system or skipped with prior information to all the stakeholders. And also, all the known defects should be either fixed or deferred for a future release or accepted as a permanent restriction. 2. Handover of test artifacts. All the test artifacts and test environments should be handed over to those responsible for maintenance testing. All the known defects, either accepted or deferred, should be documented and communicated to the team who is going to maintain the system in future. 3. Documentation of lessons learned in the project. Analyzing the lessons learned to determine changes needed for future releases and projects. And last, archiving results, logs, reports and other related documents in the CMS, that is Configuration Management System, and the same should be communicated to all the stakeholders. The last and final question, process flow for new project. I request you to have a look at the flow for clear understanding. It will help you to answer the questions during interview. Segregation of development and testing. And first phase is requirement phase. During requirement phase of development, testing team will perform review of requirements for completeness and correctness, and also they will plan for test strategy analysis. The second phase of the development is design phase, and during this phase of development, testing team will create test plan and also ensure setting up of test environment. The next phase is coding and unit testing. During this phase of development, testing team will create test data and test cases, and review of test cases will be done by peers and sign off will be done by client. Then test execution phase. During test execution phase, defects will be created and it will be fixed by development team. Similarly for performance testing. After completion of test execution, test summary report and metric report will be created and shared with all the stakeholders. The last phase is UAT, user acceptance testing. After completion of user acceptance testing, testing sign off will be done by client. With this, we complete the part 1 of test process presentation. Part 2 will be focused on ETVX model. Thank you.